Hello, spooky friends, and welcome to another episode of the Scaryish podcast.
Woo!
I'm Robin Grace, this is Adam Diaz,
Hello.
and we are here to talk to you guys, or talk to each other, really, but talk about certain topics that are pretty interesting, if I do say so myself.
Indeed. I am pretty excited for this episode. I know 114 isn't a special number, but I'm finally covering something that I can't believe it took me so long to get around to. What are you going to be covering, Robin?
This week is going to be cryptids for me.
That's exciting. I always want to do cryptids, but I have to start veering away from them because, let's be real, there's only so many cryptids you can cover before you run out. So
Yeah.
You dipped into the well, you stole from it, and now I'm super jealous. I'm going to be covering... I'm not going to tell you. You're going to find out when I actually cover my stuff.
They found out when they read the title, but...
I'm talking to you. I'm not telling you.
All right.
Everyone else already knows by reading the title, or maybe you don't. Maybe you don't recognize it right away, but we shall see. I believe you're going to be going for first, but before we get started, let's just say what we talked about saying before we started the episode. Send in your homegrown horrors to storytime@scaryish.com. That's our email address. Or go to our website, scaryish.com, and click on Contact Us. Fill those forms out. Send it our way, or hit us up on social media, however you'd prefer to do it, because we're starting to get a little bit caught up, which is exciting to do.
So we definitely want to read some more of your homegrown horrors, so go ahead and share those with us, because we want to keep reading them for you. So homegrown horrors are your stories, paranormal, supernatural experiences, things that you, your friends, family have experienced that just didn't settle well with you maybe, or they were really heartfelt and just really gave you closure, things like that. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever you want to send our way, you all have heard the Storytime episodes. Send it over to us now. It's a really good time to do it, and maybe we'll go back up to reading 6 per episode if we get enough. But yeah, that is our call out for the month of February. We just got past January Patreon push, so this is February. Send your stories already. I don't have a catchy title for this. It's really late, and it's Monday night. So without further call-outs, let's go ahead and jump into the topics. I believe you are going to be going first.
Yeah, so this week I'm going to be covering the elusive Ningen. And before I get into that, I just want to thank whoever posted that video or shared that video that tagged Adam in it on the Facebook group, because it was so funny. It's like a French bulldog who's like playing with the little RC spider, and as soon as it touches the spider, it just freaks out.
It jumps in the air and then rolls over backwards. It's 100% accurate if that was me as a dog.
It was just so funny because just the other night, like 2 nights ago or something, Adam wanted me to find the cat carrier for Aria so we could take her to the vet. And I put the little cat carrier by the door and told Adam, you're going to want to clean that out before you put her in there or anything like that. Might be spiders or something.
She was more intense. She's like, have fun dealing with the spiders in that thing. So I was like, not touching it.
Yeah, he's like, I guess we're getting a new cat carrier. And it was just so accurate that someone posted it and then tagged you in it because you hate spiders so much. But
I really do. I acknowledge it's irrational. That doesn't make it any easier for me to deal with. So I do very much hate spiders. How is that related to the...
It's not. I just wanted to thank whoever posted it because it was
nice.
So cute and so funny.
So how do you pronounce your cryptid?
Ningen. So
how do you spell
Ningen.
So Ningen.
No.
Got it. Ningen. That's how I'm going to think of it, and I'll remember it as Ningen. Because if it's Ningen in my brain, it'll disappear.
It's Japanese, so...
Oh, that makes sense.
Totally.
I was going to say it'll disappear into anime character names, because I'm sure there's someone out there named Ningen.
I don't know. It means human in Japanese, so...
That's,
Yeah. All right,
it's a weird cryptid, I gotta say. Unless you consider us cryptids, which, let's be real, most of the cryptids probably are just humans dressed up in suits, So
each week, I go through the struggle of, do I want to do true crime? Do I want to do ghosts? Do I want to do, some sort of asylum or legends or whatever, And I'm sure we've talked about it before on the podcast where we sit here and we ask each other, well, what are we going to do? And it's really a struggle, and we love knowing that you guys enjoy our topics, and we are happy to share them with you. So, this podcast isn't new to the idea of humanoid-looking cryptids, which totally is where the Ningen thing comes from. And this creature's just another one of those creepy creatures to add to that list. And I'd say it borders along the line of urban legends, but we'll get into it. This time we're going to head into the very mysterious Antarctic. So I don't think we've ever covered anything that's been found in any of the poles?
I don't think we have. No.
So.
Antarctic means the bottom of the planet, right?
Yes.
And Arctic is the north.
Yes, it's the planet's southernmost point with literally 0 permanent residents. Nobody lives there. Maybe there's scientists that stay there months at a time or something like that because it's so freaking expensive to get there. But no permanent residents. Because why would you, right? There's nothing there. It's just ice.
The penguins are on the South Pole, right? Not the North Pole? Or am I mixed up on that? I think they're on the South Pole.
Maybe there's penguins on both?
No, they're only on one pole.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't even look that up. I should have. That would have been cute.
I'm not sure that it would have overlapped with your research.
No.
I don't know if that made any sense.
So, with so little human residential action going on, there's sure to be some cryptozoological residents that we never would have thought to exist because it's just something that's way out of the way and you would never think about it. You know what I mean? So maybe there's stuff hidden on there.
I bet you they're all hiding there. Like Bigfoot, all of the Krakens are over there.
Bigfoot's there. There's a polar bear version of the Bigfoot. It's just like an albino, has white fur and all that stuff.
Okay, polar bears live in the Arctic, so they're in the North Pole. Penguins live in the Antarctic, so they're in the South Pole. That's why I got it confused, because it just depends on which pole you're at, which amazing animal you're going to find.
All right. So Antarctica itself is 5.5 million square miles of ice, or 14.2 million square kilometers, for all of you guys that use kilometers.
How big's the United States? Do you know that?
So the continental United States, not including Hawaii or Alaska, is 3.8 million square miles. So Antarctica is bigger than the U.S., which is insane.
Significantly bigger.
I think even with Hawaii and Alaska, wouldn't it be bigger still?
I don't know. I don't know the square mileage of Alaska in particular,
That's
because
crazy.
I know Hawaii is not really going to add up a whole lot on there, because it's like
tiny.
Yeah, lots of islands, but that doesn't mean it's going to take up a lot of space.
It's a lot of space to hide out in. 5.5 million square miles of ice. It's just...
That's where Nessie went. There's a lot of cryptids down there that are just chilling.
Well, the thing with that, though, is it's...
chilling.
Oh, ha, 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 ha. But the thing with that is it's so cold. What can survive there?
What?
You know?
Can't survive there. Humans, so that's where they're all going.
Oh, that's so smart. They're like, they can't live there.
I'm just babbling bullshit at 1 a.m., so I'm glad that actually clicked with you.
All right, so what better way to hide out than to just blend in with it? So this thing, that's literally what it does. It blends in, and it's completely white. It's just what it does, you know? It's crazy.
So it's a white humanoid.
Yeah, white humanoid creature that just hangs out in Antarctica, because why not? In recent years, I guess it's become more and more talked about. You could say it's been whispered about over the ocean waves.
Is that like a saying that I don't know, or is that just something you cooked up?
There's probably some other cryptic analogy about strange things that people see in the ocean, you know? Some people talk about it, right? Sailors, when they see weird stuff, they're like, yo, dude, guess what I saw?
So you're speculating on how people behave so that you can make up your own, like, phrase. Got it.
I don't know. So the story of the Ningen is said to originate in Japan, hence the Japanese name, right? And then it's said that crew members of a Japanese government-operated, quote-unquote, whale research ship claimed to have seen it in the 1990s. I just...
Whale research ship.
I mean, isn't whale poaching and stuff like that still going on?
Yeah.
So I just, quote-unquote, whale research because...
Did you put that there, or is that as it was described on the internet?
I put in the quote-unquote whale research. People say that it's a whale research ship.
You put in the quotes.
Yeah, I just don't.
Okay, you need to specify, because it sounds like you're softening the blow.
No. People on the internet say it's like a whale research ship, but I don't believe it. I just think it's like people that were trying to hunt whales, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, it's like we're conducting extensive studies on what happens when we shoot harpoons into the whales, and then we study them after the fact.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, sure it was a research.
yeah, sure it is. I go fish researching sometimes in Canada.
Oh my god. I'm sure there are actual people
whale
out there.
researchers in Japan. I'm
like,
being a stupid asshole right now.
Or like people that are like, but I do go out there and I catch fish, but I just throw them back in once I measure them and shit. Anyway, so back to the actual creature, right? Rumor has it that these things are completely white and are estimated to be 20 to 30 meters in length. So that's 66 to 98 feet.
That's huge.
Huge. 98 feet, that's like almost 9 stories, right? Or something like that.
That's over 9 stories. I thought 10 feet was essentially a story. 10 or 11 feet. So
yeah, but you got to think like there's space in between the floors, you know? That's just me being a nitpicky, but I think it's almost 9 stories.
Got it. Almost 9 stories.
So these things are huge. But they're also creepy because they're said to have a human-like shape to them. And I think that's what freaks me out about a lot of cryptids is that when they look like people, it makes me think, where did they evolve from? Or something like that, you know?
I know. Like, if you're in the Antarctic, you're not going to be sure if you're looking at a human or a 95-foot polar man.
Polar man? So they're often described as large creatures with legs and arms, some being flippers, while some actually end in like full-blown 5-fingered hands.
Can I give this thing a nickname?
What?
The Arctic Colossus.
Why Colossus?
Because it's enormous. It's colossal.
Okay.
Why wouldn't it be a Colossus?
I don't know. To me, Colossus is like a Marvel person or something.
so much.
But anyway, yeah, so some of these things have fingers like people, 5 fingers. Imagine getting a death punch from that thing.
Wow.
Get it?
Yeah,
5-finger
death punch.
It's funny because when I was looking stuff up, there were people that were saying, like, is 5-finger death punch a real kung fu move? I was just laughing because no, it's not.
You don't know that. You don't know kung fu.
Oh my god. Hold on.
Let me
download it from the Matrix real quick. Yep.
I know kung fu.
I know kung fu. All right, so anyway, these things are kind of like giant, weird, pale mermaid things that live out there in the Antarctic. And it's just crazy because they're sometimes reported to have large mermaid-like tails instead of legs. And maybe they're mermaids. Maybe they are mermaids of some sort, and they got legs on land, but they got mermaid tails when they're in the water. I don't know if you guys have watched Splash, but it's a thing. I love
Cryptid
that movie.
documentary, Splash.
Yeah, Splash. It's based on real events. Also, okay, so how many tickles does it take?
10 tickles.
Damn it. Yes. These things are also...
Your jokes come way too slow for me to pretend like I don't know the answers.
Yeah, these things are also said to possibly have tentacles at times, too. So they're just all over the place. These things are weird sea creatures.
There are many categories on Pornhub.
Oh my god!
My question is, what was your actual joke?
That was the joke. You just said the joke.
Tentacles?
That was the answer to the joke.
I'm asking you what the joke was. You didn't even read it.
Oh, how many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
10 tickles. Got it.
I hate you.
It's supposed to be a squid, by the way. Does the octopus have 8 tickles?
8 tickles? 8 tentacles?
Yeah.
8 tickles? Okay. No, I read it online recently, and that's what made me think of it. But it was because someone said octopus, and then the answer the person said was 8, probably, because they have 8 legs, and they're like, it's 10 tentacles. Anyway, okay. Moving on from my stupid joke.
I'm pretty sure a squid doesn't have 10, by the way. Just messing with you. I have no idea how many tentacles a squid has.
I'm pretty sure, like, octopus have 8, and they are a type of creature, but then because squid have 10, they have like 10 or 12.
Squid have those 2 like long danglers too. Like they're like their arms basically.
Yeah. And
long danglers is a technical term.
Because they have different number of legs, they're like different creatures. They're like a different category of creature.
Right.
I don't remember. I'm not a scientist. Who knows? There's a marine biologist out there who's
I think you're blowing people's minds right now to let them know we're not scientists after listening to this segment. Holy shit.
And some marine biologist out there is just like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, so as for this thing's face, its only visible features is its eyes and a mouth. That's it. That's the only thing that's like, oh, hey, this is my face. I don't know. I feel like even with some whales, you can see their ear holes. Do they have ear holes?
I have no idea. Okay, so you say the only visible features. Does that mean the other features are like submerged or hidden, or they just blend in?
I just think that there's no discernible feature on this thing that makes you go like, ah, yes. And there are a lot of derpy pictures of the Ningen online. There's so many pictures of this thing. And it's kind of endearing, actually, because it looks so stupid, but it's so cute. And I don't know. This thing has 2 huge eyes. Some would say vacuous. I've read that on multiple sites.
Vacuous?
Yeah, like just big, huge eyes that you could get lost in for days. I don't know. And a slit for a mouth. So it kind of reminds me of a dolphin's face a little bit. And they're also described as being slick and blubbery. I don't know what blubbery looks like. Maybe it looks like if you touched it, it'd be squishy. Are you sure? Adam's showing me his body.
I lifted my shirt up. This is what blubbery looks like.
Oh my god. It really just makes me think of that creature that I covered in an earlier episode where it was the whale man thing or dolphin man thing.
I remember the dolphin man one, yeah.
With the hat that covered the blowhole and it like walked out of the ocean or something like that.
I do remember that.
I'm imagining with the Ningen that it's like a dolphin upper body, but totally human bottom appendages. So it's just like a walking dolphin head.
It's like the opposite of a mermaid.
I guess, yeah.
Where it's like human upper half and then like mermaid lower half or fish lower half, I should say. This thing is like human lower half. So it's like a 98-foot like dolphin with a big swinging dick when it's walking around. That would
oh my god!
That would be terrifying.
Imagine how big that thing would be.
I don't really want to.
It's scary. Just swimming around in the ocean, you're like, what just smacked me in the face?
Wow.
What the fuck? No, okay.
If it's that big, it would be like, what just smacked my entire body and broke all my bones?
Oh my gosh. You know what freaks me out is when people post pictures of them paddleboarding or canoeing.
And there's something beneath them.
There's something beneath them, or they are swimming right next to a humpback whale or something, and the hump's coming out of the ocean or the surface of the water.
It's lovely whale lumps.
Yeah, it's lovely humpback whale lumps. But yeah, no, that's totally what I imagine when I think of the Ningen. And every time I read the word Ningen or hear it or say it or whatever, it just reminds me of the opening of the Death Note anime. Do you remember that one?
I do not.
It just says Ningen in it a whole bunch, but it says other words too. It's a really intense, like, metal song type thing. It's J-rock, if you guys have never heard any J-rock music, but you like heavier, metal-ish music. It's really intense, and that song slaps.
I hate you.
It's so good.
So fucking much for saying that.
Not the live action that's on Netflix. You guys have to watch the actual anime Death Note.
I mean, don't watch the real source material.
Get the fuck out of here. I don't know. It makes sense in my head when these things connect, okay? I don't know how it happens. In one supposed account of a Ningen sighting, crew members on the deck of one of these quote-unquote whale research ships saw what they thought was a foreign submarine in the distance. So not a Japanese submarine, just some other country's submarine. And as they approached it, they noticed that it didn't look like any submarine that they'd seen before. And its shape just didn't make any sense. And what they also quickly noticed was that
it had a giant dick.
Oh my god.
Submarines typically don't have wieners.
It was just floating on its back like, oh, what up, guys?
This is my periscope. Wink, wink.
Oh god. Anyway, they noticed that the closer they got to it, it wasn't any type of man-made vessel. It just moved like it was alive, like it was a creature just swimming through the sea, you know? Maybe it was fast, and that's what made it think that this is an animal, it's not a submarine. But are submarines fast? I don't know. I don't know anything about those.
Yeah, I think just off the top of my head, U.S. attack submarines may be able to sustain speeds of more than 35 miles per hour while submerged.
So not fast.
So, I mean, they're kind of fast, 35 miles per hour.
But
if something cruised by you at 35 miles per hour underwater, you'd probably piss your pants. I'm just saying.
That's true, but this is a giant ship, you know? Something for this... Maybe it's not a giant ship. Who knows what these whale research ships look like? But...
I just see them covered in harpoons and people with bandanas screaming every time they see a whale. There she blows.
But yeah, so this thing just moved like it was a creature of some sort. And they got closer to it, and this thing just quickly swam into the depths of the sea and disappeared out of view. So I could see how it could be construed as a submarine because it just dove under, when they got close. Maybe. The crew supposedly took incredible pictures of the creature, but were supposedly censored by the government, having none of them allowed to be posted or shared in any way. It was like a Men in Black status censoring on this thing, where they didn't want anyone to hear about it.
Well, I think they fucked up a little bit because we're talking about it right now. We just don't have the pictures for it.
So they've been said to have been seen mostly at night, which makes these creatures difficult to photograph. Obviously, it's nighttime.
They're
nocturnal. Supposed reasoning for the lack of photos and physical evidence of the existence of these Ningen. I accept the fact that, it's dark, it's hard to take pictures, but there's like iPhone 10s or whatever now that can take nighttime photographs. You can do it. Just take one of those with you. It'll be great. Apple pay us.
I was going to say, can they operate in like severe cold? I know if I leave my phone out in the sun, like during the summer, it's like, your phone is overheating.
Yeah, I wonder, do phones freeze?
I'm sure phones freeze. Everything freezes at the right temperature, just saying.
So I showed Adam a picture of it earlier, and he even pointed out earlier that I was like scrolling through an image search of these things, and he pointed out that it totally just looks like ice. Like, it doesn't look like anything you'd point out and be like, oh, that's a creature, or anything like that. And it just blends in with the environment and looks like a piece of the habitat. But it could be a fake photo, too. It could have just been someone who's like, let me Photoshop this thing into here real quick.
Or it could have been ice. It could legitimately just be ice. And they're like, no, it was moving, I swear.
Apparently, there's a publication in Japan called MU Magazine that is dedicated to all sorts of paranormal phenomena, which totally makes sense with all the ghosts and horrors that come out of Japan. They printed an article in 2007 titled Antarctic Humans, which, all right, it's just like giving it its name, you know what I mean?
Arctic Colossus is way better, but that's fucked up though.
Well, Antarctic
Colossus.
Yeah. So this article was all about these mystical beings, and it was about the possibility of these creatures existing there and living in the oceans surrounding Antarctica. And there was even an image of a supposed Ningen that was captured by Google Earth in the South Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Namibia.
Get the fuck out
of
here.
And we'll post the pictures of this stuff on our Instagram. You guys can check it out later. There hasn't been any definitive evidence of the existence of these creatures yet. Like, there's no for sure evidence that it's just like, these are real, And there are obviously conspiracy theories, because why not? And these conspiracy theories are about government interference and such, and there haven't been any real mainstream public press releases on it or anything. Supposedly, eyewitnesses have been told to just remain silent about what they've seen, and I can kind of believe that a little bit. I'm just a little bit of conspiracy theorist, where I kind of want to believe that the government's like, nah, dog. We don't talk about that.
Which government would it be, though? In this case, it would be Japanese?
Japanese, because their crews are the ones that saw it. But what if it wasn't an actual whale research ship and it was a whale poaching ship, and they couldn't tell them, or they couldn't tell people, like, dude, this is what we saw, because it's like, what were you doing out there? Poaching fucking whales, you know?
You could just lie about what you were doing out there. If you were actually committed to telling the truth about the creature, I feel like you could tell the truth about the creature, but it's like, I don't know, it's bizarre. Like, I feel like governments would try to suppress the information regardless, just so they could say that they don't believe in something so, I don't know, out of the ordinary, because then people might investigate other things at the same time. Yeah,
I can see that. That being said, they could just be what they look like. Big honking pieces of ice. They could also be whales. Beluga whales are white, but those are in the Arctic Ocean, so there's that. There's some sort of whale, I'm sure. The sperm whales are found in the Antarctic sometimes. It could be a giant squid, or a new species of, like, giant albino manta ray or something like that, like a giant big, flappy...
But if it's humanoid, I feel like that rules out all of those things, because they have such different shapes than a humanoid.
But some say that it's like a mermaid tail with fins. So it could be, a big giant-tailed manta ray with big flapping wings, you know? And I think it's funny because I just saw someone post today that someone took photos of like a rare pink manta ray recently. Did you see that article?
I did not.
I don't think it was in the Scaryish Facebook friends group. I think one of my friends just posted it on Facebook, but I thought it was really cool and it was super cute. I don't know. I love pink. So, but there's also the ocean sunfish. That was a photo that I sent you that I was like, that's an actual fish. But it is more of a tropical fish. Maybe it got lost. Who knows?
And was swimming on its side for some reason?
That thing can weigh up to 1,000 kilos. That's really fucking heavy. Or 2,000 pounds. About 2,000 pounds.
I was going to say.
And I mean, it could get lost, or it evolved in some way, and there's some species of it out there. It's like the ocean is still a mystery. There's so much of it we haven't explored, you know, and you never know what might just want to come and visit up at the surface. Maybe it's something that's hidden way down deep there, and it's just like, oh, hey, guys, what up?
Plus, the Antarctic itself is kind of a mystery. Like, there's got to be so much stuff buried deep in the ice. Like,
right.
I know when they're down there doing drilling into the ice to try and investigate, like, just whatever they can find, they are worried about finding some sort of, like, pathogen or contagion within the ice
Ancient
that's from...
bacteria.
Yeah, that could cause some sort of plague or, like, pandemic. Not like coronavirus or something like that, but straight up something like completely different that humans haven't had to develop an immunity to.
Right.
But the only nice thing about that fear is you'd be on the Antarctic and you wouldn't have to worry about like bringing it back with you. Isn't that what happens in V-Wars? Isn't that where they fucking get the virus?
I don't remember.
I'm pretty
just wiped
sure
that horrible show out of my brain.
It was really bad.
Some say that it might even be a species of ape that can breathe underwater. There was like an aquatic sloth. I read something about an aquatic sloth. It does
kind of look like a sloth.
Which is, you know, convenient that there just happens to be an animal like a polar bear or something that could swim underwater. Maybe it's just a polar bear. Who knows?
Polar bears are only on the North Pole, though.
But maybe there's...
And they're also not 95 feet long.
That's true.
That would be the most terrifying creature. That would be the most terrifying creature on the planet.
I'm just, okay, how a normal brown bear, black bear, they're what, 8 feet, 9 feet tall?
I'm going to go with yes. I don't know.
Imagine 10 of those stacked on top of, it's a big bear worm.
Yeah. It's the size of like 4 T-Rexes stacked on top of each other.
It's freaking insane. Okay, so a lot of sources do say a lot of different things, that it could be anything. It could be anywhere, really, you know? Maybe it just likes to chill out in all the oceans. You never know. The ocean is a mystery. Some say that it might even be a USO, which is an unidentified submersible object. Adam's just like, God.
I'm trying not to headbutt the microphone.
Maybe the people that live within the earth are just like, yo, let's take this ship and check it out.
So much. I'm just waiting for you to do the Hollow Earth theory.
God.
It's been on your list for so long.
I know. It's just something that I listen to a lot of podcasts that talk about weird stuff like that, and it just makes me laugh all the time. I mean, how could you not talk about aliens in a topic like this, that it's just like something so mysterious in a place that no one ever goes to?
It could literally be an alien that was from a planet that was very cold, and that's why it hangs out on the South Pole.
Well, maybe the reason why it wasn't sighted until the 1990s is because this alien crash landed in Antarctica, and that's just where it lives now, you know, and it created a life for itself and created a home under the ice. You never know. It
lives in a pineapple under the sea.
Maybe it's like what happened in The Meg. I don't know if you guys have watched the movie The Meg. It's absolutely ridiculous. But maybe it was some random hydrothermal vent thing where it came swimming up through it when it happened, you know? And
I'm trying to remember the exact bullshit they spewed at the beginning of The Meg. It was like the ocean floor wasn't exactly the ocean floor, because instead it was like some weird, like,
it's like a layer
gas.
Yeah, that they couldn't get through until like the water from below pierced through it. And
when she says she's referring to like the creatures,
people in the
creatures that live underneath it. Like the people go underneath it and disturb it, and then when they run away and go back up, they drag up like all of this like volcanic super hot water. It's a terrible frickin' it's a terrible movie. But it's actually kind of fun. I hate that I enjoy parts of it.
Oh my gosh. It's just like, Okay.
If we are having to use theories of where this thing came from, and we're pulling information from the Meg, I think we're reaching way too far on this topic.
Maybe it's all a hoax. You know what I mean?
Maybe it got there via Sharknado.
Maybe this is all just what the government wants us to believe. Maybe the government wants us to think it's freaking fake. Some say that all the crappy photos that look fake and get posted on the internet are a type of misinformation campaign started by the government to get you to think that it's all fake.
The Japanese government was like, you know what we could say about this thing to make people really not believe? That it has a giant dick.
Oh my god. Well, it's like when people say vampires are the ones that spread the lore of what kills them and stuff like that. And so they can go along their way doing whatever their blood-sucking things do, you know.
Who says that? Or is that just from True Blood?
It's just from a lot of vampire shows and movies and things like that. I think even...
Someone posted a meme about how, like, Italian vampires must have stated that garlic keeps vampires away because they wanted their humans to taste better.
Yeah, and it's an anticoagulant, so the blood would just flow freely.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I love vampires. They're so cool. Anyway, don't hit me up, any vampires. I don't want any of that in my life. You guys can be the judge of whether it's a hoax or not. Maybe it's just a tale created by sailors that are just a bored crew at sea that are like, bro, let's just start this shit.
That's where mermaids came from.
What?
Mermaids were supposedly sailors who were at sea for a really long time, seeing manatees and being like, wow, I want to fuck that chick over there, but she has like a fish bottom half. It's like, no, that's a manatee. That's not an actual mermaid. That's one of the theories of where the legend of mermaids came from.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
No joke.
An interesting theory is that it's a Ningen, which is a creature from Japanese folklore that's like a mermaid of sorts, except it has a monkey's mouth and fish teeth. It's freaking gross. It's got a nice voice to tempt you, I suppose, kind of like a manatee or what are those, sirens?
Sirens. A manatee. I was like, manatees can talk? What? Get the fuck out of here.
If you eat the Ningen, it's said to add to a person's lifespan. But, that being said, catching one is supposed to bring storms and misfortune.
Maybe that's what they are hunting down there.
Maybe.
With their whale research crew.
But if you get to live longer and you're gonna have all this misfortune, it's like, great, now I have this long life with all this bullshit.
Yeah, what's the point of a longer life with the quality of life being garbage?
Supposedly, a Ningen washed up on the shore is a sign of coming war or calamity. So maybe the sight of this Ningen is a sign of things that were to come in the future, since it was sighted in the 90s, and then the world's kind of gone to shit since then.
Has it, though? I mean, we have a lot of technological advances, so... It just, I guess, depends on where you're living at the time.
Yeah. So with 5.5 million square miles of ice, who knows what could be living underneath? You know, it could be hiding a whole menagerie of strange life forms under it. That's so much surface, and it's not like it stretches all the way down. It could be things that are hiding under there. I don't know if people actually go and dive down there and check it out. It seems like it'd be way too cold and way too scary. But, yeah, I just think it's a crazy thing. Antarctica freaks me out. Today I learned.
Yeah, I can't wait to post these pictures on the Instagram as well, because they're kind of weird. I was scrolling through them as Robin was talking, and the one that I think is the Google Maps image is just bizarre. It's gotta be, if it's not this creature, it's gotta be some odd shape of ice. I can't imagine what else would form it, because it doesn't look like a sperm whale or a beluga whale or any other, or even a manta ray. So go and check out our Instagram. It's at Scaryish Podcast, and tell us what you think it is.
It probably won't get if you're listening to this at 4 a.m. when this gets posted.
It'll typically be posted from now on around 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so 5 hours after the episode's release. I don't know how many of you folks actually listen to it the moment it comes out, aside from Garrett. Oh, and by the way, shout out to my friend Garrett, who has been one of the biggest supporters of our show for having his first
Congratulations!
child. Congratulations to you, your wonderful wife, and now your beautiful daughter. So, awesome. Thank you so much for an amazing cryptid that you stole that will never be able to be covered again, so I blame you for that.
You didn't even know it existed.
I did not, and those are the best ones to do research on. Before we move on into my topic, let's take a quick commercial break.
Beep boop ba. Boo-doo-doo-doo.
Wow, I guess we just booted up again, so we're back. So we're going to move on into my topic, and this week I really wanted to do something small and relatively unknown, like a story that I'd never heard before that I could really wow you folks with, but then I thought I kind of did that last week, so screw it. I decided I was going to cover something that had become really well known, something that I had only heard the after version or the based on a true story tag slapped on it version. So without further ado, I present to you the Harrisville Haunting. Now I know what you're thinking, Adam, we really wanted to hear more about boats. Well, too damn bad. Just go listen to the other episode again.
Or go watch Below Deck.
Bravo,
sponsor us.
Actually, we had great numbers for last episode, and I was very happy about that. But that was probably all because of Robin. But now, what you're actually probably thinking is, why does the Harrisville Haunting sound sort of familiar?
It doesn't sound familiar to me at all.
What work stated, quote, based on a true story, used this particular true story?
The Conjuring?
Well, that would be a little movie called The Conjuring. Robin did guess it.
Which one? The first, second, third?
The very first one, The Conjuring, which
Okay.
is why I said The Conjuring. I feel like it's very few and far between that a person who listens to our show would also have not seen The Conjuring, which came out in 2013, so it's been out for a little bit under 7 years at this point.
Are you saying that they've made that many Conjuring movies in, what is that, 7 years?
Under 7 years. In fact, the next few bullet points I have
No
are
wonder
about...
they started to suck.
are about the movie franchise, because that movie was a huge success. In fact, it was so successful in less than 7 years. The Conjuring universe, as it is referred to, officially has 7 films that have been released. And as a side note, those 7 movies have a combined budget of only $139.5 million, which is incredibly low. Like $60 million of that is the first 2 Conjuring movies. The next 5 was less than $80 million combined.
Oh, yikes.
Those 7 movies together have grossed $1.9 billion. That is insane.
Damn.
It's the second highest grossing horror franchise ever, and it's existed for less than 7 years.
I'm guilty of renting that stupid Annabelle movie that just came out. So.
I want to see The Curse of La Llorona still. The number 1 highest grossing horror franchise ever? Go ahead and guess. You probably won't, because I never would have considered this horror, but apparently it is.
Saw?
No. Saw is definitely horror.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. What is it?
It's Godzilla. Godzilla
That's
is the
not
number
horror.
1 highest grossing horror franchise ever.
Because it's a lie.
Because it's a monster. So, all right. FYI,
it's like
by the way,
sci-fi. That's sci-fi.
I don't know. You argue with IMDb or Box Office Mojo or whatever. FYI, the 8th movie in the Conjuring universe will be out this year. It is The Conjuring 3, which is called The Devil Made Me Do It. It is also based on a true story that I will totally cover in the future.
Ooh.
And I have some time because this movie comes out on September 11th, which is a really weird day to look forward to and to release a movie. I get it, it's a Friday and everything, but it's just weird to be like, yep, 9/11, that's our date, let's go with it. It's like, pick a different week. So,
It's been like 19 years.
I know, but it's still weird. But anyways, back to the place where The Conjuring all began. The Conjuring 1 is based on the story of a family known as the Perrons. And like always, the disclaimer of this could all be bullshit should be noted from this point on. So the Perrons were a family of 7 people. Roger and Caroline were mom and dad. Andrea was 12, the oldest daughter, followed by Nancy, who was 10, Christine, who was 9, Cynthia, who also went by Cindy. That noise has been happening the whole show, and you finally just noticed it.
What is it?
I think there's a cricket in our office.
Really?
Cynthia, who was known as Cindy, whose age is not listed because she was so young, and April, who was the youngest, even younger than her. Those were the children. That's right. Roger had 5 girls. Count them up, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just like in The Haunting at Hill House.
We just finished watching it with my family, and
my 4th time through it now, I think. Maybe 5th.
I noticed a lot more this time around in the last episode. But there's spoilers.
Alerts. Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah,
Skip
spoiler.
ahead 30 seconds if you haven't seen Hill House and you don't want to have it spoiled for you. They're all fucking dead. I'm going with they're all dead. There's a piece of red in everyone's vision, and I'd just like to point out that when it's convincing Nell that she's with her husband still, and everyone's like okay and back together, and she sees Luke, and Luke's like, oh, I did it, Nell. I'm like clean and sober thanks to you. Like, everyone sees the perfect vision that they want to see, and that's how everything unfolds at the end.
Yeah.
The same way. They're still in that fucking red room. Guarantee it. That's
Yeah,
the twist. The beginning of season 2, you're going to find out they're all dead.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking because... So
we said 30 seconds, Robin. You're going to have to wrap this up.
Okay, well... Maybe we'll just do like a little tiny mini chat and we'll post it on Patreon. I don't know, because I really want to talk about it. I know we said we were going to do a Haunting at Hill House, like viewing TV club type thing, like a big book club. We just don't have enough time, and I just really like that show. It's just so good. I don't know. Okay, anyway, continue with your topic, please. Thank you.
On. So the Perron story begins in January of 1971. They had just purchased a farmhouse at 1677 Round Top Road in Burrillville, Rhode Island. So, I don't know why it's called the Harrisville Haunting, which is what it is commonly referred to. Because it is in Burrillville, Rhode Island. Now, I give you the address so that you understand that I did a lot of research. However, I will humbly request, if you're in the area, since Rhode Island is quite small, in fact, I believe it's the smallest state in the Union, don't go there. So many people have decided to make it a pilgrimage since the movie came out, and people live there. Stop going to someone's house, because if you get shot for wandering onto someone's property, at least Scaryish was one of the few paranormal things that said you shouldn't have done that. That said, it was a really nice house that they bought. It was pretty good size, 3,109 square feet. Thank you, Rhode Island property records.
Wow.
As big of a house that it sat on an 8.5 acre lot. So tons of land, plenty of space for a large family. The place had good bones, too. It was built in 1836, so it had been around for a while. Side note, there are a lot of places on the internet that like to sensationalize the shit out of details when we're talking about something paranormal. And that even goes to the house itself. Some sites claim that it was built in 1736. Some sites state that it's over 300 years old, which is ironic, because the one that I saw that stated it was over 300 years old was one debunking the story and saying that they found all the truth that they could find through like records.
How old is our country?
1776.
So,
I mean, people have been here for a lot longer than that. So.
Oh, okay, I see it. Got it.
Yeah, but it's just funny to me because, like, I found this site where it's like, what really happened in The Conjuring? The movie's all a lie. It's like, well, yeah, dude, it is a movie, but the stuff you're claiming to be the stuff you're using to disprove that turns out to be bullshit anyways. But anyways, it was built in 1836. Don't trust the liars. I give you facts. And sometimes they're scarier. When they were moving in, nearby neighbors stopped by to greet them. It's a rural area, but when you see a house in your neck of the woods was sold, you're naturally curious to introduce yourself to whoever bought it. And as a side note, if you are ever the neighbor introducing yourself to a new family moving in, make sure that you come up with some cryptic-ass nonsense to tell the new homeowners. Like your very own, sometimes, dead's better.
Well, you just give them a note, and it's like, oh, yeah, I found this in your mailbox, and it just says that someone's watching you across the street.
That's the worst of the worst. You have time to work on it. It's not like someone's moving in right next to you right now, and if they are, hit us up. I would be happy to come up with something with you.
Don't say that.
The folks who went and introduced themselves to the parents when they were moving in, they had their cryptic-ass nonsense already chosen.
It's haunted.
Because after introducing themselves, speaking to the parents, speaking to the girls, they left the parents with a bit of parting advice. Quote, leave the lights on at night. End quote.
That's so that the watcher can see what's going on in the house.
You're going to take this back to the watcher every time. But that is a hell of a thing to part with when you are just meeting someone. So after dropping that fucking bomb, the neighbors departed and the parents settled in for the first of hopefully many nights to come in their new home. And the funny thing about when you're in a new house for the first night is you have to learn the house. Like which rooms are warmer than others, which rooms are colder. We always wind up in the room that's the warmest in the house somehow, and it drives me crazy. Like, which stairs creak when you're walking up them? Like, where does light come in from the outside, especially if you're near a street? Like, where is it going to play off the walls? And, of course, when it comes to learning a house, the noises a house is going to make.
The settling, things like that.
Well, here's the thing. All houses have noises. And I even put right here, like, quote, just the house settling is typically what folks say. But by 1971, when the parents were moving into this house that was new to them, The farmhouse had already been there for 135 years.
Wow.
It had settled. Like, it was good to go. It has people in it again, but it had been there long enough where the settling was pretty much done.
Yeah. I mean, whenever our air conditioner or heater or whatever kicks on, you hear the air vents moving and
yeah, but
that's
what I'm saying is, like, those are the noises that you're learning of your house. So there were noises in this house like there would be anywhere else. And, like, the way the wind blows around a house can always cause noises. Sometimes they sound differently than others. And if it were me, what I would tell myself is that it was the wind or the house settling when I heard something in the middle of the night. Like, wind can sound like things moving around in your house, which is what they heard. Wind...
No, but I don't think wind can do that.
Wind can sound like whispers in your house or in your walls.
No.
Which is what they heard.
I don't think wind could sound like talking. Wind definitely whistles when it goes through cracks and stuff like that, but it doesn't go like you're gonna die. Yeah, nope, no.
Just
wrong.
The wind.
Nope, fuck that.
So I can only imagine with a family of 7 that if you set something down, regardless of the time or the place, someone is gonna move it. Like, we have 3 people in our household, and sometimes I feel like everything I set down, regardless of where it's at, will get moved. And things tended to move in the house after they moved in.
There's 7 people, I mean.
Exactly. You'd think that one of the kids moved it or your parents moved it, whatever. They wouldn't be where the family had left them when it comes to these objects. Cindy, one of the youngest, stated in an interview, and this is a real interview, quote, "Things would either be moved all around in different positions than how I left them, or they would all be shoved up underneath the bed. And I would go to my sisters."
Do they have a cat or no?
No. I would go to my sisters. Of course, you'd go to your sisters and ask, quote, "Hey, what'd you do to my toys?" And they'd say, quote, "Nothing. Why would I mess with your toys, Cindy?" And Cindy wasn't the only one who noticed things that were weird. Other members of the family noted that the arrangement of the furniture wasn't the same as they had left it overnight. And again, it's a family of 7. Like, you'd probably assume some asshole was moving the furniture around. They were moving in after all, trying out new orientations for all their stuff. There was another noise at night, though. Like a scratching or a scraping, and that noise was coming from the kitchen. And Carolyn, I should say, I thought Caroline because the Poltergeist movie. Carolyn, a.k.a. the mom, noticed something in the mornings. The broom would be in a different spot than where she had left it.
People are talking about the broom thing today. Did you notice that?
What broom thing? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Our friend Justin, he posted a picture and said, right now, the Earth is at some gravitational tilt or whatever, where a broom can stand up on its own.
I don't buy that.
I don't know. I don't buy it either.
Did they post a picture of it?
Yeah, there's a picture on his Facebook.
Is it of his broom standing up?
It's of his broom standing up.
Interesting. I'm going to have to look into this. So, anyways, she was noticing that this broom would be in a different spot than where she had left it the night before. And in addition to that, Carolyn was finding a pile of dirt in the middle of the floor each morning. Now, we've covered a lot of bizarre paranormal activity on this show, but if I wake up in the morning and my floors are clean and swept, that's basically like a ghost is paying me rent. So, it's just like cooling the house in the summer with your spiritual presence. If you pull your weight, we can totally coexist.
Okay.
Shortly after the family noticed this activity, one of the, if not the first ghost, quote-unquote ghost, made itself known to the family. And the kids noticed it first. I would recommend, if any of you are in a creepy situation and you have kids, make sure to talk to them to make them feel comfortable. But I'm not going to give you advice on whether or not you should ask them what they've experienced or seen. Kids tend to exaggerate. Kids tend to lie. But kids also do tell the truth. And that might be scarier than the other two. Because if I asked my kids how they were adjusting to the new house, and they told me, it's okay, and then they asked me who the little boy was that they keep seeing in the house, this dude would say he's going out for a pack of smokes and head to fucking Mexico.
Oh my God.
I'd be like, yeah, that was a good try at the family. Maybe I'll give it a shot again in a decade or so. So the little boy would often be seen playing with the kids' toys before disappearing. As terrifying as that is, that's only the first ghost they saw. When the kids actually played with their own toys, or just played in general in the house, they had a really fun time. And they're kids, they have all this energy. but they started to feel as if they were being watched. And eventually, after they had been in the house for a bit, they started to notice something. In the corner of the rooms that they played in, they could make out what appeared to be a man watching them play with a crooked smile on his face.
Oh, no!
They nicknamed him Manny. No. Other activity began to happen as well. And this is, by the way, not the plot of the movie. This is the stuff that supposedly actually happened.
You mean they didn't have any clapping that would happen randomly?
Yeah, the clapping game wasn't an actual thing that I was able to find anywhere. However, that shit was fucking scary in that movie.
Dude, that first time you see the hands come out of the darkness. Ugh!
I think you only see it the one time.
No.
So, okay. Behind the chick where it's like clap, clap, and her light goes out. I think that's...
I have chills right now
I'm
just
pretty sure that's the end
of
of the clapping game.
Oh, fuck, dude.
So other activity began to happen as well. And again, this stuff started happening pretty much right when they moved in. Family pictures would fall off the walls despite being stable. Vacant rooms would have their doors slammed shut. There was no one in them, and all of a sudden the door would slam super shut. The furniture began to rearrange itself during the day and loudly, where they would hear it go into the room and the furniture would be in a different orientation.
Dude. No fucking
way. So things were beginning to escalate. But I want to note that it was not all bad stuff, and you don't hear a lot of this stuff, especially because of the movie The Conjuring. Andrea, who is the oldest daughter, states that every night for the first 2 months they lived there, she could hear a woman come into her room while she was falling asleep and kiss her on the forehead. She initially thought it was her mom, but came to realize it wasn't when her mom told her she had not come into her room and kissed her on the forehead. She stated she realized it because her mom smelled like ivory soap, but the spirit smelled like flowers and fruit. After those 2 months were up, though, things changed. This benevolent spirit that was giving out goodnight kisses vanished. And the girls, all 5 of them, began to complain that they were being woken up in the night to their hair being pulled on suddenly and violently.
Okay, I have chills right now. But what if they started getting really scared at a lot of the things that were happening, and then this other entity fed on their fear?
I'm sure that's what it was.
Started booting out all the other spirits.
Or it's all bullshit. But I mean, that realistically, they state that, and you were going to get into it a little bit here, that there was a lot of spirits in the place. But the more frightened they became, the more energy it basically gave to the malevolent spirits that essentially just wound up taking over. So their hair starts to be pulled in the middle of the night. It wakes them up. They're scared.
I'm scared.
Their legs were being pulled on, and I think it's funny because it's like pulling your leg. But their legs were being pulled on in the middle of the night as well, feeling like something was trying to pull them off their beds. Cindy topped it all, though. Cindy, I believe, is the youngest or second youngest. One day, she told her sisters that a voice was speaking to her at night while she tried to sleep.
Nope.
The voice would tell her that there were 7 dead bodies buried in the walls.
Shut the fuck
It was telling her this night after night and not letting her sleep. Then, one morning at 5:15 a.m., Carolyn, a.k.a. Mom, woke up to something she would never forget. She claimed she awoke to see, quote, a very tall woman in an old gray dress with her head hanging to the side, her hair resembling a sack of cobwebs, end quote.
No
The entity screamed at Carolyn.
It's like the bent neck lady.
A little bit like bent neck lady mixed with the image that you saw in The Conjuring, but she screamed at Carolyn, get out, I'll drive you out with death and gloom. End quote.
I don't want to. No, I'm scared. Can you stop? I'm scared now.
We should turn off the lights for the rest of this one.
No, fuck that.
This woman would appear more frequently, accompanied with door slamming, pictures falling, and general sorts of violent poltergeist-type activity. After that, the family would all wake up every day at 5:15 a.m. to the stench of rotting flesh, overwhelming their senses, jolting them out of sleep because it was so rancid. This apparently went on for years.
They lived there with all that stuff?
It's really hard to move out of a place when you've invested so much into it. Carolyn wound up going into town to do research on her own home and placed a name to the spirit she had seen, which is Bathsheba. That is how it's spelled. Bathsheba. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. I'm almost completely convinced I'm saying it wrong. But
that's the actual one they put in the Conjuring movie.
That is the actual one they put in the Conjuring movie, which is my next bullet point. And yes, this is the entity that you see tormenting the family in the Conjuring. And here's something that I did not know until I researched this a bit more thoroughly. Bathsheba Sherman was the name of the suspected quote-unquote witch, which we've talked about before, like everyone calls something evil a witch if it's a female, which is stupid. And that's the name of the entity that supposedly haunted the family. Her name at birth was Bathsheba Thayer. She was born in 1812, and yes, she was 100% real. She married a man named Judson Sherman, which is where she got the surname Sherman. She had 4 children, 3 of which died in infancy.
Oh, no.
This is all true. Being real, it was 1812. Infant mortality rate was sky high. They basically had diapers made of rattlesnakes and cribs crafted from coronavirus. So there wasn't a whole lot you could do to keep your babies alive. The other one was improvised. This one was scripted. Her one surviving child was named Herbert. He lived a long, healthy life, apparently. Multiple websites claim that she sacrificed her kids, just like in the movie, which is not proven at all. They also claim that she hung herself from a tree on the property in the early 1900s.
Like in that movie.
When she was close to 100 years ago, just like in the movie. That story also states that after hanging herself, she turned to stone. She actually died on May 25th, 1885. Her cause of death was complications from paralysis brought on by a suspected stroke. She's buried in a cemetery in Harrisville, Rhode Island, next to her husband, Judson, and with the rest of the Sherman family, including her children, which really kind of takes away the credibility that the town was so convinced she was a witch that they were terrified of her. It's like they buried her in the cemetery, which means it was attached to the church, next to her husband and her family. So maybe they thought she was weird, especially because a lot of the children had died, but children died a lot, especially in the early 1800s. One event that is spoken of, but not confirmed, in more reputable sources that I could find, is that of an infant who had been left with her to care for by a neighbor. It sounds like she was babysitting while these parents were out of town or just went into town because it's the early 1800s and they don't have cars, you know. You have to take a horse or a buggy or what the fuck ever.
Okay.
When the parents returned, the newborn baby had died. Supposedly, after a cursory examination, it was unclear what had caused the child's death, and again, supposedly, a more careful examination took place after that, and the cause of death was discovered to be a large sewing needle that had been shoved into the base of the child's skull. Whether or not this is true, I cannot say. What I can say is the locals and townsfolk at some point believed her to be a Satanist or a witch or evil, and there was talk that she had sacrificed her infants to the devil in exchange for beauty and longevity. I'll be real here. People talk shit. It's just what they do. And they do it, and they especially did it in the 1800s, about the hardest thing that you went through in life. I'm pretty sure when we covered the Whaley House, there was a lady in particular whose husband was a con man and left her, and she was ridiculed so much by her friends that she wound up taking her own life. So I don't put a whole lot of credit, and I don't lend a lot of credence to the shit talked by people about someone else. So I'm just putting that out there. Now, finding death records on things can sometimes be difficult, especially when it's so much older, but after some digging, there is a document in this town apparently called the Black Book of Burrillville, and it's a nickname given to the book that holds the town's former public records. I cannot confirm if this is real, but it is referenced by a lot of folks, and if we ever get a show where we can travel and check shit out, I am finding this book, because supposedly the book quote-unquote confirms that the property had multiple tragedies occur on it, and it stated that 2 individuals committed suicide by hanging at 1677 Round Top Road, which is the site that this took place. In addition to that, it said that another individual committed suicide by way of poison, 2 kids drowned in a creek that is on the property, 4 men came onto the land during a blizzard and became overwhelmed by the weather, freezing to death, and an 11-year-old girl named Prudence Arnold was raped and murdered by a farmhand.
French? This place is crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know. Again, this could all be bullshit. I found a website that claimed to debunk the stories, and especially focused on Bathsheba. It had great info from public records, from census showing that she had actually lived there, she was an actual person, death records for her, her husband, and her kids. But holes in that person's research were filled in with stuff like a source claiming various newspaper clippings rather than the actual name of the newspaper or the date, and other people's YouTube videos, which really, really pisses me off, because if you're trying to say you're disproving something, you have to do it with proof. The same way we try and present these creepy stories with proof, you have to do that sort of thing with proof. Back to the Perron family's story. So their haunting persisted for 2 years, before Ed and Lorraine Warren became involved. It was 1973 when they finally showed up. By that time, Carolyn had begun having visions of the home on fire, was repeatedly slapped and pinched by the unseen entity that was tormenting her, and had been stabbed with a knitting needle.
What the French toast, dude?
Word of the activity in the home had spread locally, and a local paranormal group had reached out to Ed and Lorraine Warren to see if they could help. In the movie, Carolyn reaches out to see if they could help, but in actuality, it was someone else entirely. The family actually didn't go to the Warrens for help. The Warrens arrived in hopes that they could find some normal cause for the haunting that might be inspiring fear, that could be inspiring hysteria. It is said that the Warrens would typically try and look for some sort of actual physical reason, like broken foundation or a non-level home or leaky pipes that was causing the fear that was making people think that these things were happening.
Yeah.
After a short time with the Perrons, they came to believe that the house was haunted with multiple entities and that the malevolent forces were overwhelming any benevolent entities because of how much negative energy they had been fed, essentially. Despite what most of us have seen in the movies, the Warrens' presence did not help the situation at all. It only seemed to agitate the spirits. They did, however, refuse to have any form of exorcism in the house or on the house, claiming that only a priest would be able to perform that ritual. So the whole exorcism scene in the movie is bullshit.
Yeah.
That did not stop them from eventually performing a seance with Roger and Carolyn, mom and dad, and unbeknownst to all of them that were present, Andrea, the oldest daughter, and Cindy, one of the youngest daughters, were hiding on the stairwell or in the room they were doing this, watching it all take place because they wanted to know what was going on. Andrea's actually written 3 books. She's still alive. She's written 3 books on her time spent in the house, and this particular night is one she claims to remember vividly and states that she doesn't care if people don't believe her. Her exact quote is, quote, "There was no exorcism. It was a seance that went very wrong. What they portrayed in the film is not what happened. It was scarier. It was the most terrifying night of my life." So apparently what happened in real life is the Warrens had another medium join them to help them perform the seance. And they called to the malevolent entity in the house who showed up and was like, "Yo, dogs, like, you realize I'm, like, evil and shit, and you're calling me to show up, so I'm just gonna do what I do best."
Sounds like something really stupid to do, considering the Warrens are supposed to be
helping.
Yes.
And they've already been agitating it just with their presence, and now they're going to perform a seance and bring in another medium to try and pull this thing out. So, of course, when it shows up, it goes after Carolyn. Now, I've found multiple accounts on what happened this night, and they all claim to be quoting Andrea, but I cannot find a lot of interviews with her without buying her book. So I'm going to give you what I've heard quoted as her, and then what I actually found able to quote directly back to her. So it said that Carolyn's chair began to levitate off the ground with her in it, and she started speaking in tongues. That part I cannot confirm as being part of Andrea's account.
Okay.
What is her account is that after that, Carolyn and her chair were thrown from the room by an unseen force all the way into another room where she slammed into the floor. She was discombobulated, and the Warrens attribute it to her being possessed. Roger Perron told the Warrens and the medium to get the fuck out. Andrea states that it took her mom a long time to, quote, come out of the condition she was in after the seance. She was utterly drained and in pain. She believes she had a concussion from the massive fall she took, and that it took time to clear out, you know? Once it finally went away, after that, the Warrens were gone because they were told to fuck off, and the activity actually started to calm down.
So how did they sell this story, the Warrens? And that's insane.
I mean, the movie obviously took some creative liberties. Movies always do that. I have not read the book that they wrote about it, which I'm pretty sure is The Demonologist. But realistically, there's always 2 sides to every story, and the Warren side typically is based off of what they believe is happening, and then the families have a side based off of what they believe is happening. We know the Warren story because we've all seen it basically turned into a movie.
Yeah.
And things have been changed around, obviously, to make them like the giant heroes of the story because they're the main characters or whatever. But the exorcism didn't actually take place. It was this seance. So After the seance, activity calmed down, but the parents continued to see things. It said that they saw a father, son, and dog appear at the top of their staircase, frequently staring at a wall as if they were looking through a window. They would never make any eye contact with the family and would eventually disappear.
Do you think that there was a window there at one point
I do. Let me get to this, too. You're really going to like the way this ends. So,
okay.
April Perron, the youngest, she's the youngest, claims that she made friends with a spirit in her closet named Oliver Richardson, but never mentioned him to Ed and Lorraine Warren during their time with the family because she didn't want him to go away.
Aww.
With the activity persistent but not malicious, the family acclimated until they were able to sell the house. They weren't actually able to sell the house and hit the road until 1980, almost 10 full years, a complete decade after they had moved in. One thing I find super interesting is that during their time there, Andrea claims, this one is so cool, Andrea claims that her mom had a particularly unique experience. This one's for you, so pay attention.
Okay.
She was walking to the kitchen and she looked up and saw two men sitting at her table. One man saw her and he was startled by her presence, and he tapped the other man to get his attention, pointing at her in the other room.
Front door.
The second man spun around and saw her, also shocked.
What do they look like?
Quoting Andrea, to them, she was the ghost. I always considered the house as a portal, but not only a portal to the past, but to the future. So maybe that's what people see. It's not even a spirit that's trapped somewhere. And Robin talks about this a lot, that there's like the energy that's being embedded into a place from a traumatic event. But maybe it doesn't even need to be tragic or traumatic. Like maybe some places just have some sort of phenomenon that we cannot understand, where past, present, and future can become blurry. And like you're just going about your business in your home and you have no idea that you're actually the ghost in someone else's timeline, you know?
Yeah. Well, with a house like that has so much history.
Yeah, and it's like you're living in real time, but so are they in their time. But because you're overlapping, and like you say, like ghosts tend to walk around in their floor plan,
yeah.
Maybe that's why. They're literally walking around in their floor plan in their time. Maybe this is more of like a time disturbance thing than like a spiritual disturbance thing. And like if you're just going about your business and you're the ghost, like you'd never know. Like Carolyn Perron noticed it in this case, but maybe you just walking around, or maybe like how I do it, how I wake up at night to go to the bathroom, it's such a repeated event and I kind of just do it on cruise control so I can stay almost asleep, so when I get back to bed I can lay down and immediately go back to sleep. It's so ingrained in the environment that the house remembers even when you're not there anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a repeated action that maybe the next people that move in
are going to see some dude in
the middle of the night. They're going to hear creaking, they're going to hear the sounds of like metal clanking and not know what that is. It's our dog gate. And then, like, hear, like, weird sounds in the bathroom, which will be me peeing, you know? It's bizarre to think about. And the events the parents experienced are really heavily scrutinized, especially with the success spawned by the Conjuring franchise. And basically, anyone that was attached to this story before it turned into a movie that did not get paid when it became a movie has sued Warner Brothers and anyone else who had anything to do with the movie.
Oh,
they're all saying, like, I had exclusive rights, you guys left me out, I should have, like, been a part of this. I think the parents were all taken care of and the Warrens were taken care of, but I don't know about anyone else.
Like that other medium or something.
Or any of, like,
that.
the townsfolk who had been, like, quoted as saying stuff, or neighbors, perhaps, the previous owners. And the lawsuits include the homeowners that came after the Warrens, who between 1980 and 2012 had claimed no paranormal experiences at all in this house. In 2013, they had their own nightmare. People kept showing up on their property trying to summon shit, leaving behind Ouija boards and other occult paraphernalia,
I'd be fucking pissed.
Along with graffiti on their shit. Like, people are just showing up because they saw the movie The Conjuring and are like, let's try and summon demons. Let's try and reach out to Bathsheba or whatever her fucking name is. And it's like, that someone lives there, man. Like, get the fuck off the property. The house was sold as recently as 2019, so less than a year ago. And the folks who live there now claim that they are experiencing events similar to the parents. I think they're trying to cash in on that movie deal. Lights are turning on in rooms that have no light source at all. So rooms that have, like, no light, they're seeing lights flicker in them somehow.
That's fucked up.
That's scary shit. Doors are slamming. Footsteps are heard throughout the home. And maybe, just maybe, the husband of the couple who currently live there had a friend over, and they were hanging out in the kitchen and saw a woman in clothes from the 1970s walking around in the hallway, and they freaked out when they saw it.
No.
And that might be the overlap from when Carolyn was walking around and saw two men that pointed at her.
Shut up, I have chills.
I'm saying maybe. That's my theory, that might happen in the future.
I have chills. That's so crazy. Shut up.
But that, my spooky friends, is the Harrisville haunting, or the true story behind The Conjuring.
Nice.
So I hope you enjoyed that. I really liked how it wrapped up, and I will say this. Andrea Perron, the oldest daughter of the folks who lived there when all this shit happened, has her own podcast called The Something Seance. It's like the last seance or like the big seance, something weird like that. She almost has 100 episodes. I'm going to probably be checking it out just so I can see if she talks about her experiences. I'm not exactly sure what the content is she covers. I imagine it's very similar to ours. But yeah, it's something that I've discovered and I will probably check out.
Why, thank you for sharing that with us.
No problem. And that, I think, is just about everything we got for episode 114. So again, call to action. Send in your stories. Email storytime@scaryish.com. We want your homegrown horror so we can read them. And if you have a story you want to share, but you don't want us to share it, just let us know and we'd be happy to just talk to you about it. We still get those, and there's nothing wrong with that. Robin, where can folks send their homegrown horrors?
So you can send them to us at our email, storytime@scaryish.com. You can go to our website, scaryish.com. Yes, we have a website. Please go there. Check it out. You can go to the Contact Us page, fill out that form, and that email gets sent to us that way. We also have a whole bunch of different social media outlets that you guys can message us on. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We don't really get a lot of Twitter messages because I don't even know how DMs on Twitter work. But
we'll check them if you send them, though.
Yeah, so go ahead and contact us any which way you can. We have a Discord server. We have a whole bunch of stuff. All that stuff is linked on our website, scaryish.com. Please go there. You can go to our Etsy store through there. I'm putting up the pre-orders for the new horn pins today. I'm so excited. And
it is my favorite logo we've ever had for the show. So.
Yeah?
The horn logo is the coolest logo I think we've ever had.
So you can do it that way. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Scaryish podcast. You can support us that way. Those are monthly donations. We have a whole bunch of different tiers for you guys to check out. And you can go to Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/Scaryish podcast. Those are one-time donations, and those help us upgrade our studio setup.
Indeed. So I think that is just about everything that we have for episode 114. We hope you enjoyed it, and we are having the Storytime episodes recorded live Tuesdays, 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at youtube.com/Scaryish and twitch.tv/Scaryish podcast. So the same day you're listening to this, if you listen to it the day it comes out, you can watch us record that Storytime episode
tonight.
And we welcome you to come join us tonight. If it's not Tuesday, well then, hey, thank you for listening. We appreciate you. And Robin, go ahead and sign us out.
Keep on creeping on in. We'll talk to you guys later.
You're gonna die. Bye.
What?